Hello. This video demonstrates proof of concept of Preech, a Sublime Text-to plugin for speech-based programming. This plugin should allow programmers to dictate their code by voice. I'm going to show you what this looks like in action and then explain how the plugin works. So let's start by dictating some Python code. Class, arithmetic, indent, function, add, next, self, next, variable 1, next, variable 2, continue, indent, indent, return, expression, variable 1, plus, variable 2, continue, new line, indent, function, multiply, next, self, next, variable 1, next, variable 2, continue, indent, indent, return, expression, variable 1, times, variable 2, continue, continue. Okay, so that was how we use it to dictate programs. But how does it work? The first step is that we need to convert the speech to text. We rely on CMU Sphinx 4 to do that. So after we have received an input, we need to manipulate the file, or not do anything if it's an invalid input. For each valid input, we need to either insert text or move the cursor, or both. But an important question is, how do we define the mapping between what is said and the action to be taken? This is where spoken grammar files come into play. So spoken grammar files are written in JSON format. You can look it up if you're not familiar with that format. The first line here defines what files we need this grammar to be effective with. So in our case, we need it to be effective with Python, py files. Next, we have a special asterisk key, which applies to all utterances regardless of where we are in the speech dictation. So as we can see, if we say indent in any position, then it's going to insert 4 spaces. And also if we say new line, it's going to insert a new line. And we have the start production rule is always has the key start. This is where we start dictating. So we can see that when we said class, we had the class name and first the term class, and then a class name and 2 brackets and a colon, and then the class body. So anything in between 2 square brackets like this is a non-terminal, which needs to be defined by another key. So let's look at look at how a function is defined. So we have definition, and then we've got a non-terminal to a function name. So let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at what fname is. As we can see, we have hard-coded a few function names here, such as add, multiply, divide, and the constructor. All of these are hard-coded as function names. Next, we have the arguments, function arguments. So let's take a look at that too. We've got the first thing we said was next. When we said next, we saw that we had to insert a variable name followed by more arguments. So after a variable name, in our case, we said first we said self, which is also hard coded, and then we said next again. But next again was what was part of more arguments. More arguments now, when we said next over here, it inserted a comma followed by another variable followed by more arguments. So we're calling the same state again, and so whenever each time we say next, we keep calling more arguments again until we say continue. So what we said was, let's go back to where we were. Yep, here. So we said self, and then next, and then variable 1, and then next, and then variable 2, and then we said continue, which led back to our function, which led back to function body. Now, and so on. So it goes with function body here. We see that we have an assignment statement, which is a variable equals an expression, and we see we've got an if statement. What we did was we did a return, so return followed by an expression. Now what is an expression? It is a variable followed by an expression term, and an expression term is either a plus or a minus, or could be divided by or times, and so on, until we say we could have one or more plus or minus, until we say continue, which returns us back. So we can have multiple grammar files, and all the grammar files could define multiple languages, and this is how we achieve extendability in our prototype. So we can also make changes to an alias. For example, if we're not happy saying function, we could instead change it to definition, and all we have to do is save the file and then go over here and reload the config files, and they in fact did reload, and the next time we start we have to say definition instead of function. It's as easy as that. Preech is available on GitHub if you'd like to try it out. It's still very beta and supports dictation only. So now we reached the end of the video. Thank you for watching.